Justin Carpenter.
What's up, Kyle?
How you doing?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Good, good. We just had a little catch up there. Got talking about some things, so we've got some focus for our talk today. Lots
Yeah,
going on.
yeah, a lot going on.
So today's the 7th of September,
hmm
2020.
hmm
Where are you again right now?
So I am just south of Coeur d'Alene in Idaho. Um, yeah, really beautiful area. I'll give you a quick look around. See the lake.
Nice.
A lot of lakes in this part of the country. A lot of mountains. Idaho is absolutely beautiful. I've spent the past few days just kind of touring around the different hot springs in the whole state, which there are tons of them, but there are a bunch of amazing ones, which is always really beneficial to soak in because it's as you're soaking you're sweating, and so the water is just continually circulating, so you're removing your toxins, and then you're also taking in the earth minerals that are flowing in the water as well, so it's a really good
Yeah.
um, detox process. But that's been great.
Interesting you say that because I watched a video just a couple days ago, Sasha Stone interviewing some people, and they were actually talking about what's going on in Australia, which we're going to
Mhm.
talk about at some point here. And this he's an MD PhD, pretty smart dude, and he was talking just about that. How one way for people to um, really assist themselves right now is to be in water, to be soaking in water. If you can find hot springs and raise your
Mhm.
body temperature,
Yep.
like all of those things are such natural ways to detox and basically sit in the proper minerals that can just naturally help us. And a lot of that is actually in countries right now.
Right.
You know, a lot of these places are closed down. A lot of the hot springs are closed down. So many of these, if you want to call them alternative or natural things, it's weird that we call them alternative when it's just what we've done naturally for thousands
Right.
of years.
Right.
They're shut down. You know.
Yeah, well, and that's a common misconception with water in general. We think that our water sources are rain fed, but in reality, most of our water sources are spring fed, and that's where you get the good holistic water when it comes from the earth, and because the earth is a natural purifying it's a huge filter. It takes the water in,
Yeah.
cleans it out, and spits it back out. It's amazing how it works. It's geared for life.
And what it does have, the bacteria and the viruses and stuff, what that's healthy. That's good stuff
Right,
for us.
right,
That's why every other creature on the planet seems to do just fine,
right.
except for us and our fear.
Yeah, right. The whole pasteurization model, Louis Pasteur, he even said when he got a lot older that his whole theory around pasteurizing and boiling and getting rid of all bacteria, like that whole theory is damaging. It's more the terrain theory of what we can do to make our terrain, make our body healthy living environments with good bacteria, and so it facilitates health in that sort of way. Not getting rid of all bacteria, not getting rid of everything like that, because that's what we're made up of.
Hmm. It's what's his name? Zach Bush talks really well about that. Have you
Mm,
seen Zach Bush,
yeah,
MD?
yeah, super
Yeah,
intelligent guy.
yeah, brilliant guy. Yeah, he talks really highly of that and explains it nicely. Well, where the heck should we start, man? There's so much going on in the world.
Yeah,
I
lot
was kind
going
of thinking
on.
we can get people up to speed because some
Sure.
people are so stuck on mainstream news. Like it's just, maybe there's some people that are going to watch this and go, well, yeah, but the mainstream news says this. So I was
Right.
thinking we could even get people up to speed on just what's going on in the world.
Sure. Yeah, you want to start?
Sure. So definitely lots going on. Well, I'll say on my end in Canada, I'll
hmm
say what's going on there. So there's a movement where I'm on the island. So I'm on Vancouver Island, which is just beside Vancouver, which is still pretty big. I think
hmm
I think it's about the size of Ireland almost, maybe a little smaller. And we've never had COVID problem here. Like you look at Canada, we probably had more other viruses than we did COVID out here on the island.
hmm
But yet people still are so scared. We've got this Dr. Bonnie Henry. We've got T-shirts made with her face, and you go out to parks now, and her face is there going, "Please be careful and social distance," because she's got this grandma look to her, and people just love her.
Right.
But she's a puppet. She's a puppet for our government that is still trying to instill this fear around COVID is so bad, and we're on the same train as other countries, which is more cases, more cases. And
hmm
that's all they talk about in the news, more cases, which if someone actually looked at on a graph, more cases and less death means no big deal.
Right.
It means that's awesome news. And so
Right.
that's actually an approach I've been taking with people. And with the work I do as a psychologist, I've been trying to say to people that are still really scared and don't know some of this information that
Well,
I'll try and go, this is actually really good news. Like,
yeah,
yeah, we're seeing more cases because we're testing more. And also the testing doesn't seem to be that accurate. So there's
it's not at all.
false positives, but there's really low mortality rate. That's awesome. This
Yeah.
isn't as bad as we thought.
Well, even the guy who invented the PCR test that they use to test this thing, he said this is not accurate enough to be used. Like he said, I do not recommend using this test to determine what, if this is a positive case or not. And yet
Exactly.
we're still using it, which is,
Yeah. So on my end in Canada, they're trying to ramp up the fear. Our Prime Minister Trudeau has been caught with his hand in the cookie jar for this We Foundation where they got all this money and out to the family and this and that. And our finance minister has recently quit. Like Canada's just a gong show. It's our politicians are just a bunch of puppets. And so people are starting to question who are controlling the puppets. But then there's a lot of people that are just walking on like this and
right.
just, or more like this, fear, 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 putting on their mask. Masks are all businesses, all the employees are wearing masks.
Hmm.
You go to most of the big super or grocery stores, people are wearing masks and people look at you funny if you're not wearing one.
Right.
I find it really interesting that not only they haven't down regulated their response, which is far too draconian, you could say.
Hmm.
They haven't downgraded that, but a lot of people still aren't questioning it. Like they actually
Right.
believe that there is this responsibility that if you're wearing a mask, you're doing good. You're a good person if you're wearing a mask because you're not spreading.
Right.
There's this real narrative that's been created that has stuck well for people.
Well, and with the mask thing specifically, it's brought up a whole host of other issues that are coming up. Like I've seen cases of gingivitis going
Mm.
higher than normal because people are covering their, your breath is another excretion point. It's another filtering
An
process.
exhaust like a car,
Yeah, you're getting rid
trying
of
to get rid of something.
stuff, and if you're holding it onto you, you're introducing more points of infection, more
It turns into
and
a petri dish on your
right.
face.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a post of this woman whose two kids had really bad infections on their face, and they went and got tested, and it was negative for COVID, but they've got these bacterial infections on their face because they're having to wear masks all day at school. And people make the argument of like, oh, well, healthcare providers, they wear masks all the time and they're fine. But they're working in a sterile environment and they're taking the mask, they know how to use the mask properly. They're taking them off and disposing of them properly. And so you can't really compare that and say that this is okay because and that just points to more, if these masks actually worked, they would have come out and they would have said, this is the right mask to use. This is how you use it. But since they've said none of that, it's just virtue signaling for compliance, which is, that's not the right way to go
Yeah,
about it.
and the mask thing is a sensitive topic for some people because in some situations masks are appropriate. But I think what people have to do at this point is realize we're at this point. We are September 7th. We're not March when we didn't know what was going on and how this
Hmm.
works. We're September 7th. We're finding a lot of testing is coming back positive, whether it's accurate or not. The death rates are totally low. It's insignificant,
Hmm.
generally speaking. And then the CDC comes out and updates their stats, which show that a large portion of what they were classifying as COVID deaths weren't. Just people had COVID in the system, but they were dying from motorbike accidents
Right.
or other things, right?
Right.
But I think if people could just, I don't want to spend too much time on the mask thing, but if people could look at where we are now. So COVID obviously isn't the threat that we thought it was. They were lumping a lot of other deaths into COVID, what they thought were COVID deaths, but they weren't. And masks are good in some situations. They don't work for viruses. Viruses are too small, they go right through.
Hmm.
And on top of that, it turns into a petri dish on your face.
Hmm.
So it shouldn't be this argument that masks work. It should be an argument of what do masks work for?
Right.
They don't work well for COVID. They don't work for COVID. They might work in other situations to stop, spitting a piece of fruit on someone when you're in an operating room or something. But to stop the spread of a virus, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
But yeah, I don't want to beat that down too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's wild to see that sort of bifurcation of reality that we've talked about before. The world's splitting or has split into two different realities where you've got people who are so absorbed with this fear everything, fear your neighbor, fear the virus, fear death, it's ultimately all a fear of death. And then you've got others who are saying, hey, wait a second, like this doesn't make sense. And more and more people are jumping on to that line of thought as this progresses and saying, hey, we're in September now. Like this was bad, you know, relatively bad back in March and April, but here we are
Appeared
in
to be, for
September.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lot more room for the conversation of like, we don't know what this is, we don't know how it's going to affect people, so yeah, let's take a little bit more precautions than not, and that makes sense. Like I can hear that argument, but here and now, knowing all we know about this thing, and people who still claim that we don't know a whole lot about it, it's like, well, you might not know a lot about it, but there's a lot of information out there. We do know a lot about this collectively. It's just whether you choose to engage with that or not. And so it makes it difficult to I guess put that across to people when if you've already kind of made up your mind that I'm going to fear this, and no amount of reason or logic or information or anything is going to sway me, because the people on the TV told me that I should be afraid of this, and therefore I'm going to be afraid of it. And that's part of that sort of spiritual growth that we're going through as well, is coming to terms with taking responsibility of our freedom and of our sovereignty and of our own information, and saying, I need to look into this. I can't rely on other people to tell me how to live and how to operate. I have to take responsibility and do it myself. Um,
I
but
wonder
that's
at some
difficult.
point, I don't know if we should do it in this conversation or another one, but I would like to, because I feel like sometimes we're trying to decide who we're talking to. Like right now, we're talking to people that, so far, people that are kind of on the fence. And, I think maybe we need to talk to more of the people that are more spiritually minded already and have kind of made up their mind to some degree.
Sure.
Um, like, for example, you and I have talked about this, how this is a spiritual war.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, this is a spiritual war between the dark and the light, the good and the bad, love and fear. And for some people, that kind of sounds philosophical, or there's no practical component to it. But I think if anyone that has any faith, whatever religion it could be, spirituality, new age, resonance with anything, you have to understand that that is what life is all about. Like we're all trying to understand why we're here, what's life all about. We get caught up in all the materialism, sure, but at the end of the day, all everybody wants to do is feel good, feel loved, feel like they can open their hearts and talk to people,
Hmm.
unless you're on the negative path, I guess. um, and for us, we and many others like us see a clear picture that this is the Great Awakening. This is the Great Awakening that's been talked about forever. This is
Right.
what's in the Bible called the harvest, what's called in New Age and spiritual communities ascension. Like this is the time we're going through,
Hmm.
and we're kind of being split into cohorts who are going to follow those that are kind of in power and have been kind of steering us like cattle for so many years and making us think that life is okay. Oh, you're making your 70 grand a year, or your 80 grand a year, and life is good. You got your 2 cars and white picket fence, and they're becoming billionaires and just steering the herds.
Hmm.
And then there's a cohort coming off, and it's getting big, that are going, this has got to change. We've been living a lie, and you're trying to steer us in this direction, and we're calling your bluff. We bit with the COVID thing in the beginning, but this doesn't make sense now. This doesn't make sense, and I'm not going to be steered with that herd. And so there's that pocket that's coming over here, and I think they're looking at it through a spiritual lens. I hope so. Like, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Well, and maybe not fully consciously, but I think subconsciously everyone who's aligned with that is has a deeper understanding of what we're going through, and to some degree or another, whether, like I said, whether it's consciously acknowledged or not. Um, but it once you start to boil it down and look at it holistically, like it becomes pretty obvious what's going on, because those who have hid in the shadows and sort of controlled things from behind the scenes are making themselves visible for all to see. That we're seeing, and again, this is not talked about on the mainstream media, but we're seeing an astronomical amount of human trafficking arrests go down, like left and right, of this vile darkness. If you're willing to physically enslave and restrain another individual, especially children, like you've clearly aligned yourself with just about the darkest version of consciousness that you can possibly grasp at. And so now we're seeing all of these people who are coming out and being held accountable for these sort of actions, and people still don't want to acknowledge it, for the most part. But those who are willing to engage with that subject, and willing to look at this from a holistic and spiritual standpoint, see that as, okay, now I need to pay attention. The time where, because I'd say as a whole, we're like children, or we were like children. We were living with mommy and daddy, and mommy and daddy were telling us what to do and how we should live. And now we have the choice to grow up and say, okay, I appreciate those lessons. I appreciate what was taught to me, but I disagree with how that was steering, and I'd like to take responsibility, and take ownership of my life, and take ownership of where it goes to.
That
And
goes
that's
against the norm. And
right,
that's where we're at right now, as many
right,
people are questioning that norm that we've grown up to go, this isn't a norm. This is a
right,
monopoly. And we need this monopoly to stop.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as it develops, we're seeing all the stops pulled on the sort of darker side. That the people who want to maintain that control, they'll do anything to keep hold of that, because they understand, once that happens, once that breakaway happens, then the genie's out of the bottle. It can never be put back in. And so that's why we see everything happen with COVID. That's why we see all this stuff happening with Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and all of this chaos that's tried to be sown, because that's how they operate. That's how they've successfully controlled people in the past, is if you can sow fear, anger, division, all of these sort of quote unquote negative, energetic alignments. And if you can sow those deeply enough within the population, then you're much more easily able to control it.
Well, there's
So
that's the divide and conquer aspect.
mhm,
Like even the
yeah,
whole BLM movement, like this shouldn't be about saying BLM. This shouldn't be about saying Black Lives Matters.
right,
What if I said, I think that no Black person should die in a way like that? Is
right,
that supporting Black Lives Matters? Black Lives Matters is an actual movement by an organization. And if people look into the organization and what their values are, I think they'd be a little shocked as to
hmm,
what, because I believe they've stated clearly that they are trying to, they don't believe in the family system.
no,
They believe in anger. They believe in these kind of warlike activities. And
right,
what does that have to do with standing up for the rights peacefully?
yeah,
That's not something Gandhi would support. So
right,
why is that supported now? And I think people have to understand that they're jumping on bandwagons instead of knowing what bandwagon they're jumping on.
hmm,
And so this isn't about saying a few letters. This isn't about wearing a T-shirt that says something, because you're wearing Nike on your shirt. Who is Nike? Who is BLM? And I think if we look at this more spiritually, the spiritual things that we need to really focus on is, are you aligning with love and light
hmm,
and you're moving in that direction? Or are you aligning with fear and darkness?
right.
Don't know who you're supporting, look into that. And I mean, that's something that I find is happening a lot. People don't know who to stand behind and support. And so sometimes they're supporting the wrong organizations.
Right. Well, and with BLM, you can take a look at their finances. They've raised I've seen upwards of over $1 billion so far in this whole time period, $1 billion, and not I have not seen a drop of evidence showing that they've done any neighborhood cleanups of black communities. They have not sent any black individuals to college. They have not they have not supported any black-owned businesses in that sort of way. The only things that they have done is sown destruction and chaos. And so if even if you're looking at it from that perspective, like what are these what is this organization doing that's helping Black lives? Like what do they actually care?
And that's the
And
key thing. It's an organization.
right.
Like people, we're tricked from a young age to be activated by our emotions
Hmm.
and get emotionally tied to things. And so they've cleverly, whoever they are, have made Black Lives Matter sound really good, sound like it's an initiative to stand behind, but they have their own agenda.
Hmm.
Like we need to stand in our own sovereignty, our own light, and realize that it's not an organization that we have to stand behind.
Hmm.
We need to stand together. I need to see you as you, Justin, not you as a BLM supporter.
Right.
But and that's a big deal. Like we need to align more. Those that are moving towards love and light need to stand in that
Yeah.
and look at everyone else as a co-creator and look at everyone else as another person that is able to be a creator themselves instead of who do you align with and who are you affiliated with.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it plays into politics as well. Like, we need to get out of identity politics and saying, I'm going to align with this specific party or this specific, whatever, just because that's how I've always done it. And no matter what they do, no matter what they say, I'm still going to align with them. We need to be taking a, a investigative approach to just about every person that we want to support and say, are these people, like you said, aligned with harmonizing love and light, like pushing towards that world where we're able to be protected and cared for, and when we're doing that for each other, and identify when that sort of darker energy is coming out of, okay, this person is all about control, this person's all about like manipulation, they say one thing and do another, and it's not left versus right, it's like it's literally revealing itself as good versus evil, and that's what we're up against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like sounds like Australia and New Zealand are going through some
Oh
crazy
man.
stuff right now.
Yeah, they are reaching new levels of insanity with the lockdown. And when you look at the amount of deaths that they've had, even recorded deaths that they've had in those countries, I mean, minuscule, absolutely
Yeah,
minuscule compared to what's happening. And people, I think in Victoria aren't allowed to leave their homes for more than an hour or so, and then they're not allowed to cross any borders to different states, and people obviously have to wear masks everywhere. And saw that one video of that woman getting arrested for a Facebook post, organizing. And it's like, at what point, and looking at this from a big picture perspective of, this is a spiritual war, like at what point are people going to say enough is enough, and this is not okay, because that's part of it too, even looking at this from a larger view of, we're going through an awakening process. If we don't stand up for ourselves, then who's going to stand up for us? It's not, we're not looking for some savior or some other entity to come in and say, no, this is wrong. No, we have to take it. We have to step up. We have to
yeah,
do
like
it.
some are waiting for the return of Christ or something,
Right.
and I think many people are realizing it's like it's Christ consciousness that has
Right.
come back, and
Yes.
we're all feeling that our hearts are opening. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter if you align with a certain religion or faith. I think most people can resonate with Jesus Christ was a pretty amazing dude,
Hmm.
and there seems to be a return of Christ consciousness that is resonating with people, and they're moving over to look at this differently.
Yeah, when even looking at Jesus specifically, like the whole story around him was so twisted, because Jesus, what, he was a maverick. Like, he came and he said, "Why are you listening to all these Pharisees and these people in these churches and these lawyers? Why are you listening to them and telling you that they stand between you and God? No, you are a child of God. You can be like me if you do this." And so that's, my thoughts of why they killed him, because he was a threat to the establishment at the time, but he knew what truth was, and he was going to speak truth regardless of the adversaries that came out about it. And so, like I have a hard time with the sort of Christian sort of passive way of looking at things, and that we're just going to wait for an external savior to come pull us out of this, and we just have to pray. But no, God rewards action. God rewards like right action, and standing up for yourself, and saying enough is enough, and all of these things. And then that's what Jesus was talking about too. Like, so yeah, I mean, just to kind of add on to that.
I completely resonate. It's this we chose to come here. We chose to have this experience. So this is the school of choice. So
Hmm.
make some choices.
Right.
And I haven't read anything where Jesus said, "Sit back passively and wait for me to come back."
Hmm.
Don't stand in your light. Don't speak your truth. I haven't read anything where he said that.
Right.
And so if we look at the actions that we did, if we did 20% of that ourselves, imagine the alignment we would have. Well, people are standing up that way.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think we're seeing that. I did a talk yesterday. I was telling you at the Church of Truth here in Victoria, British Columbia, not Australia. And something that I tried to leave them with was that this is practical. Like we can actually make this very practical, because sometimes you get on the spiritual side and it sounds kind of conceptual or philosophical, and
Hmm.
okay, well, it sounds good in here in this bubble, and then I leave, and now what do I do with that? And so I tried to explain to them this effect of consciousness and the doubling effect.
Hmm.
And really, we're living in two worlds. We're living in a physical school, a physical reality or illusion, depending how you look at it. Then there's this metaphysical aspect behind us. There's this energetic aspect that's going on behind the scenes in the field of consciousness that we're all tapping into with our thoughts and all the energies of everything around us. And when we can start to harness our thoughts, when we can start to realize that our thoughts manifest things, nothing on earth would be created, that anything that's been created by humans anyways, wouldn't have been created without a thought.
Right.
Thoughts are the fuel behind consciousness, and they're the fuel behind us manifesting in our physical reality. All we have to start doing is harnessing that thought power.
Hmm.
Stop focusing on fear people.
Hmm.
Stop focusing on the clown show. Stop being
Hmm.
pissed off at people. Stop judging people. All of that is feeding into the negative energy. And so we're manifesting more negative physical reality through those negative thoughts, fueling the field of consciousness.
Right.
When we can start thinking more positive and light and love, and just being an open-hearted person and smiling at people and looking at them as another creator, looking at them as someone else that's waking up, have that patience, that energy, it's magnetic. And when we align, there's a doubling effect. And with every person that comes in, it doubles again and it doubles again, and the light gets stronger. And that strength is in the field of consciousness and the metaphysical side of things, but it manifests in our physical reality.
Hmm.
And we see that in these conversations we're having, and we see that with the Ben Swans and the Rashad Buttars and the Del Bigtrees and um, you know um, all these different people that are talking in the same language and coming from different places. Um, what's his name? Steele? Is it Robert David Steele?
Robert David Steele, yeah.
Yeah, like he's putting out some amazing stuff. And these
Hmm.
people come from all walks of life.
Yeah.
But what they are talking about is they're all trying to live a life more in love and light and
And
stand in
truth.
that light and
Truth.
truth.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think it's so liberating, and people will find that things just start to manifest. Just do it, just be it, and then
Right.
watch what happens.
Right. Yeah. I heard a good mantra the other day that I've really enjoyed putting into practice, and it goes, I am love, I am light, I am truth, I am. And then just repeat that. I am
Like
love,
it.
I am light,
Like
I am
it.
truth, I am. And just continuing to embody that, and in all sort of instances. And I was talking to somebody the other day who was going on about all the things in the world that they were disapproving of, and then in the same, just a few sentences later, was talking about how they were judging their family for not recycling. And I stopped him and I said, like, I understand where you're coming from, like I get it, but even in those particular instances, like that's an opportunity to shift something, to have that conversation with love with your family, and instead of being combative and divisive and all these different things. And we kid ourselves and think that those things don't matter. Like it's not, what can I do to change the world? What can I do to make it any better? But it's like, if we all took that, and every single conversation, every single encounter, every single interaction that we had with other beings, like I'm choosing to act in right action, in love and light and truth every single time, no matter what. And if we all committed to that, the world would be the world would be new overnight. It would
It
be.
would just vibration change.
Mhm.
Things would just realign. And
Yes,
of course we're going to screw up. I screw
sure,
up every day doing this stuff.
right.
But then we stand back up and we move forward. I
Hmm.
mean, we're walking in a life of tripwires, so we're going to trip on some of this stuff, especially this old programming that sneaks up, these subconscious programs for us, and that's okay. They'll get dewired and de-energized over time. But this is the time of the Great Awakening.
Hmm.
This is the most, we've joked around about this. This is the most exciting time on earth. I like to joke around with people and say, I use a hockey analogy. This is Game 7 Stanley Cup final overtime, and you're on the ice. Like this is the time.
Hmm.
So stand up and show your light. Stand up,
Right.
show your love. Walk in the streets. Sasha Stone was talking about how everyone needs to get out on the street, get talking to people, do this. And I love the way he challenged the men out there.
Hmm.
And he said, come on, you guys, like you exercise, you do these things, you stand up to be a man, stand up right now,
Hmm.
for those that are awake anyways, and stand up. If you know that you need to share your voice, and stand up and share your voice, and
Right.
find those people that you can resonate with and stand with, because there's so many groups right now that are talking the same way we are.
Hmm. Definitely. Yeah, it's very exciting times. I mean, I think for the most part we are, from what I'm getting and what I've been looking into, I think we're watching things play out for the benefit of those who aren't quite ready to acknowledge it. So we're seeing all of these sort of chaotic events, with the riots and with the virus fear and all those sort of things. We're seeing it all play out, so that those who are still in their slumber are kind of jolted awake. But I do believe that everything is under control. I think that we're going to come out of all of this with a renewed sense of hope, and we're going to see justice. We're going to see peace across the earth. We're going to see abundance. All of those things are right around the corner, and really all we have to decide is how long it takes for us to get there. Like it's going to happen, but we have to decide how long do I want to take to get there, and that's a choice, and going back to that
Yeah.
choice of like standing in that right action and every single opportunity. It's all a choice. Every breath that I take, everything that I speak, it's all a choice, and really taking and acknowledging that, taking that responsibility is it's beautiful. It's kind of, it can be daunting because it's like, oh wow, I'm
Oh, it's
responsible.
intimidating for sure.
Yeah,
I felt it myself. I'm sure you felt it.
right. It's like I'm responsible for everything. Oh wow, I can't blame anybody else. Like that's hard to grasp at times. But the more that we do that, the more that we can see that it's not so scary once we finally do
Yeah.
take that on, and then we get to truly manifest and co-create magnificently in that
Like
regard.
to, I resonate with everything you're saying, and I'd like to challenge. I like to challenge some of the people that have had strong voices in the past, and those that haven't, that are willing to step up. But part of what's motivated me to do this, you and I do this not because we're making money off this or anything else.
Yeah.
It's quite the opposite. Like it takes our time. We do so much research in these areas, and I could easily just sit back in my slumber. We were joking around before we talked right now that there's been times where I've thought, screw this. I just want to retire, sell my stuff, downsize, go sit on a hilltop. And I know many, I counsel a lot of RCMP and veterans, and so many of them just want to retire now and go hide and just go, enough, I'm done with people. But you know what? We're on the front lines. This is all happening. And the thing is, the faster we stand up and find our voice, and the faster we stand up and look around and see who our peeps are, then we are the change. Like
Hmm.
it's inevitable, people. It is inevitable that things are going to change. The whole world already has changed, right? So either we sit back allow them to steer the cattle again, or we go, you know what? Like for me, I'm not going to let my daughter look back in 5 years from now and say, Daddy, what did you do? It
Right.
would crush me.
Hmm.
So anyone with kids out there, wake up, start reading some stuff, start asking some questions, because all of us aren't aligning on these topics because we drank the same Kool-Aid. We
Right.
align on topics because we've done so much bloody work, and we end up finding people that are doing the same work as us.
Right.
So I would just like to challenge people out there that, what do you think is going to happen how is this going to look 6 months from now? Everyone knows that we're being lied to in some way, shape, or form. Who cares if it's the research on masks or the corrupt politicians or what they're saying about COVID deaths? We know we're being lied to. It's so obvious right now. So are you going to sit back and take it? Or are you going to say shit needs to change?
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
shit needs to change. So either you can
Right.
sit back, you can wait for it to recalibrate, and then you can be steered like cattle again, and hopefully it recalibrates in a way that you like, or you can stand up with those that are saying something's off. And I would say lose the edge as to, oh, you're on this train, or you think that, or you think this. We're all moving in the same direction by saying
Hmm.
something's wrong here, something's going on. We need to get to the bottom of this. So we need to stand up right now and
Yes.
step in our light.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would just kind of add on to that that, and I say this in every video, and you've said it many times too, we are available. I'm available for questions if someone's curious about something, or wants to talk about it, or just as feel like not feel alone and going at it. And that's not to say that I'm going to get everything right, and that's not to say that Kyle is going to get everything right all the time. We're going to make mistakes, but it's that process. It's acknowledging that, like, I am ready to learn. I am ready to take on new information. I am ready to challenge my old beliefs. All of it. It's that rebirth. It's coming into that new understanding of, like, wow, okay, that was how life was, and I'm going to choose how life is now, which is, it's very exciting. But just wanted to throw that in there, that I'm always available to reach out in this kind of stuff, because I have a huge passion for it, and I think you do too.
Yeah, and I'd love to get, maybe if we got enough interest to do what other people are doing and just in our own way, to do like a live feed and we do Q and
Yeah.
A's. I mean, when I was out at that small church yesterday, the energy was amazing. I had so many head nods, and then I did Q&A for a while, and we went half an hour over. I had everyone come up to me afterwards, not everyone, but at least 75% just going, wow, like everything you said I resonated with. Because when you hear the truth, and if you
Yeah.
can if you can turn down the volume of your subconscious programs and actually listen, and don't listen through old ears, don't listen through comparisons and judgment, other things, just really listen. The truth is there, and I'm
Hmm.
not saying I know it all and you're not saying you know it all, but when you align on things, the truth is there, and it's the foundation. It's the bricks you can put down to stand on and go, okay, this is making some sense now.
Hmm.
And every time you get another brick of truth, you feel more and more stable. And I think
Right.
most people right now don't have anything to stand on.
Right.
They're standing on what, Dr. Bonnie Henry is saying. She's their messiah right now.
Hmm.
And where's that going to end you up?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the lies don't make sense. They don't feel right. They don't resonate, and that's why there's so much confusion and chaos and turmoil, because everyone knows on a deeper level, like, what is and isn't true. And it's whether and when you start uncovering the truth, it just makes sense. Like, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, this is,
Uh,
we're all putting our own puzzle pieces in the mix to collectively have this beautiful puzzle, this tapestry, all assembled, which is the truth, which is our collective way of.
Laughing here. Sorry, I
Yeah.
don't want to interrupt you.
Oh no,
I
you're
just because
good.
I feel like I'm smirking, and I want to tell you why. So, um, I think her name's Tam, the one that's helping the Canada actually speak on public health and whatnot right now. I really don't follow it that much because they just annoy me. But she's come forward just recently saying that she is recommending that people wear masks when they have sex. I think, and especially if you don't know a person or something else. So you're going to exchange all these bodily fluids, and
Right.
you're going to be sweaty and smearing yourself all over someone else. Well, I guess depending how long you're having sex, but they're recommending masks to have sex. And I heard that someone else, and it might have been our local Dr. Bonnie Henry, someone is talking about that. They mentioned a glory hole. And I'm just like, to use, I'm just shocked with where these conversations are going and what they're saying. It actually makes me believe that the powers behind the scenes are totally losing control of the narrative so
Hmm.
bad that they are just desperate, and
It's really amazing.
they're throwing out marbles everywhere hoping someone trips on something.
Yeah.
But this is where we need those bricks to stand on.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like if they came out if they came out tomorrow and said that the best protection against COVID is shoving your thumb up your ass, we'd have a lot of people doing it. We would have a lot of people doing it, which
Yeah.
is, it's like sad to say, it's kind of funny, but it's like, come on, guys, let's take
What
a
do
look
you
at this.
need to wake up to
Yeah,
go off here?
right.
My friend that I lumped as a conspiracy theorist, maybe I need to realize that I'm the one that drank the Kool-Aid, not them,
Yeah,
right?
right.
If you haven't done research on these topics, if you haven't watched alternative news, if you haven't had these conversations, you're the one that drank the Kool-Aid.
Hmm.
Like, people can't see that. If you're only watching CBC and ABC and CNN, you're the one that drank the Kool-Aid.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's an arrogance to say that someone is wrong when you haven't done any research on the matter.
Yeah,
That would be like me coming to whoever discovered the structural makeup of water, that is hydrogen, two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, and I said, oh, that can't be true. Like, I have done no research on the matter, but that is impossible. There's no way that that is possible. Like, why would I have any
because
leg
I
to stand
saw
on to?
this thing on the news and they said,
Yeah, right. And it's just like, that if we're not going to, I'm all for being challenged with alternate evidence. Like, if someone has something and it shows that what I said about something was wrong, like, please bring it to me.
exactly.
I love that kind of stuff. But if you're going to tell me that you don't believe that it's true just because you feel like it's not right, or because somebody told you otherwise, like,
It's it's
we don't have time for
childish.
that.
It's
Yeah, it
actually
is.
it's childish. People need to wake up and take some responsibility for their own thoughts.
Right.
And
Yeah, but that's part
yeah,
of it too, and that's part of, and I challenge anyone who's going through this awakening process and frustrated at others for not seeing it. It's part of it too, is to have compassion, have grace on people as they go through this process. Give people what they need, and not trying to preach or proselytize or anything like that.
oh, we're
But
not trying to profess that we know it all. We're learning new information every day. I'm
right,
thinking about things different than I did 3 months ago.
yeah,
But I've had enough red pills to go, something's off.
right,
That doesn't make sense. I damn well know that doesn't make sense.
right,
To go, these are all the same people steering these stories and these narratives. So at some point you have to go, I need to look into this further. I
hmm,
need to ask some questions. I need to come out of my shell. I need to question the narrative. I need to do some research. And at that point, that's where, um, that's where we've ended up. And so we're
yeah,
not professing that we know it all, but we're professing that something's off here.
right,
And people can hopefully, with these videos that we're doing and other people are doing, resonate. And then it activates someone to start questioning the narratives and
hmm,
looking into things deeper. If not for yourself, for someone else. Swallow
right,
your pride and how you're looking at things and learn more. If you're judging stuff that we're saying, look into it. Look into our
yeah,
resources. Go
right.
to my YouTube channel and look at my subscriptions. They're open for people to look at. Go look at your YouTube channel. I mean, we don't have big followings like some of the other people, but if that's what it takes to red pill someone to wake up, hey, that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, like, I wouldn't even care if not a single person watched this. It's more just putting it out there, and
Yeah,
it's therapeutic to talk about.
true enough. Yeah. And it's good
But
for you and I to connect. So why not record it? And
yeah, right. Yeah, but I think we've been talking for a good minute now. Do you have
yeah.
any sort of final thoughts you want to throw in there?
I would like to just, from my own perspective, just say, like, this is actually really exciting. As much as this is daunting and it's changing our whole world and lives, how we look at things. Yep, totally. It's a shit show. Okay, our whole world is going to be shaken up. I'm still trying to be my regular job over here, but work with more spiritually minded people. You're taking a break, traveling the US, trying to be on the front lines, doing these things. We're trying to gather information. But this is an amazing time. Like, we are going through the awakening. We are
Hmm.
challenging the narrative that we've been fed since we were born. We're all waking up to saying, this is going to change. And yeah, it's heavy right now. And unfortunately, people are dying in riots and this and that. But that's just part of the process as we're
Hmm.
going through this. And I think the faster we can do this through love and light, that is the kryptonite for the darkness. It's
Hmm.
like, it's probably some disclosure in the Superman series that love and light is the kryptonite for the dark. And if we can just embody that and radiate that, we'll see this shift take place. We'll see it just
Hmm.
start to recalibrate. And I think it's really empowering when we can actually try and be the change. The change comes from within. Get meditating, quiet your mind, tune
Hmm.
in to the cosmic consciousness, creator, source energy, God, whatever you call it. Tune into that by shutting off your mind and learning to meditate, and you will change yourself from the inside out, and you'll become a different person.
Definitely. Yeah, I would just echo and ditto on that. Make sure as you go through this process, because we're all going to go through it at different rates, and it's going to be, intimidating at times, and there's going to be times when we need to take a step back. Just make sure to ground, make sure to spend some time out in nature, to meditate,
That's a
to get.
meditation right there.
Yeah, to sort of recalibrate, because it is intense. It is intense, and the most important, no matter what is happening in our external world, the most important thing is our spiritual growth, our ability to go through this and to take in information and to grow spiritually. Um, so don't forget that as well.
Well, and I'll plant. So there are some people out there. There's many actually that are awake, waking up, and going, yeah, but if Trump knows this, or if there's this alliance and they know information, or there's other organizations, why don't they just tell us? That's because this is we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and this is all about spiritual growth.
Hmm.
We have to wake up when we're ready. We have to wake up. It's like teaching a child. A child has to learn its own lessons, otherwise it won't really integrate and understand them. So
Exactly.
we are just adult children spiritually.
Hmm.
And so we have to wake up on our own. We can't just be told everything. The whole world would just be like a Slurpee brain freeze, and we'd all be sitting here going,
Or
like
you.
we have to wake up at our own pace.
Hmm.
And so I think I'd like to just say to people that we can't be told everything. We have to wake up incrementally. But when we do get that, this is maybe kind of Dr. Stephen Greer stuff, but he says it nicely that we need that 1% coherence. When we get 1% of the population that is coherent in their thought, coherent in love and light, we will overwhelm the 99% that is disharmonious.
Hmm.
We just have to get to that cohesive state
Hmm.
of love and light, and the shift is going to happen. It's
Yep.
we're going to overwhelm those that are disorganized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Well, I think that covers it for all I got to add for today. It's good
Yeah,
talking to
me
you.
too. Hopefully it wasn't too long today.
Well, it's
It
always
is
a good
what it is.
conversation. Yeah.
It is.
All right, Kyle. Well, I hope you have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Good connecting with you.
All right. Take care.
See ya.